Hey, this is Rick Kasalj, injury specialist from exercisesforinjuries.com. In today's video, I wanted to go through 4 easy steps to hip pain relief. And I'll get Donna-Lee to go through the first one, and the first one involves the chair. Okay, so that ends up being the first step, relieving tension. So the chair ends up being great for that, lying down, relaxing in your upper body, but then also relaxing in the hip and resting the legs on a chair in order to take the weight off the legs so that the muscles in the hip can relax. So a lot of times with hip pain, the muscles around the hip will end up tightening in order to protect the hip and prevent it from being hurt or harmed anymore. So what I recommend is lie down like this, ideally up to 2 minutes. But you're going to get benefit by laying here relaxed for 30 seconds to a minute, but try to build up to 2 minutes. So that ends up being the first step, relieving tension. So we're going to move the chair away and we're going to go through the second step. And the second step is working on mobility in the hip. So a lot of times when it comes to the hip and pain, we stop using that area. And when we stop using that area, we end up, that area ends up getting more stiff, and that more stiffness ends up kind of leading to that vicious cycle of more and more pain. So we want to do what we can to keep the mobility good in that hip joint. And with the hip joint being a 3-dimensional joint, meaning it can move in all directions, we need to kind of target all of those movements. So we're going to go through 3 mobility movements right now with Donna-Lee. So the first one ends up bringing a single knee to chest, so pulling it up as far as you can, and then bringing it back down, and then bringing it up again. So smooth, controlled movement. And so looking at times, or looking at sets, reps, and time, I would end up doing 1 set, 5 repetitions, holding for a good stop, so 1 to 2 seconds at the top point, and then coming back down. And I would do this on each side, so 1 time on each side. Then the next one ends up being thighs in and out. So you're straightening the legs. You might separate the legs a little bit, and then what you're doing is actively rotating the thighs in, and then you're rotating the thighs out. So with the first one that we went through, we're working on the movement in the hip in the forward direction, mainly forward and back direction. Now with this one, we're working on the rotation part of the hip, because a lot of times that rotation part will tighten up in order to stabilize the hip more, and that tension ends up leading to more pain. So with this one, when it comes to sets, reps, and time, you're looking at 1 set, 5 repetitions each direction, so a total of 10 movements, and smooth, controlled movement, and you can come to a stop at each point, in and out. Now the third mobility one, good, you're bending the knees, feet are a little bit further apart, and now you're going to rock the knees side to side. Good. So you're rocking them in, rocking them to the other side, and we're trying to focus on the movement happening in the hip. Yeah, you're going to get some movement in the back, but we're really trying to focus in on that hip area. And with this one, we're working on the rotation part of the hip, but also working on the side to side movement of the hip, working on improving and maintaining the mobility and also the range of motion in the hip. When it comes to sets, reps, and time, with this one, 1 set, 5 repetitions each way, so a total of 10 movements, and you're looking at smooth, controlled movement and coming to a stop at the end points and trying to go a little bit further each time with this one, and then also with the one before, the thighs in and out. Now moving on to the third step ends up being traction. So what I'm going to get is some sort of tubing or some sort of strap that can provide a little bit of traction or pull on that leg. So a lot of times things will tighten up, especially in the deep muscles of the hip, and it's tough to stretch them out. So what we can do is add a little bit of traction or pulling in that leg in order to stretch that joint, stretch those muscles in there in order to help increase the space in there and improve movement. So I'm going to help Donna-Lee with this one. So you're taking the tubing, you're kind of crossing it over, and then I want to fix it to something, okay? So I can end up fixing it to something. It could be, you can hook it around a couch, or something that's firm, that's not going to go anywhere. And then Donnelly's going to kind of scoot back until she's getting the right amount of pull or traction in that hip. So she wants to remember to try to be relaxed in the leg, but she doesn't want the tubing to kind of fire off. Okay, and just looking for a light pull in the hip. Now, if this is the first time that you've done this, don't go too crazy with this. We'll start off with a light stretch. Hold it for about 10 seconds and then take that stretch off and see how it ends up feeling. If it feels better, worse, or the same. If it feels better, go back into that tension level and increase the hold for like 20 seconds. But start off light with this one, and you're kind of moving to a point where you have that constant traction and you're feeling a little bit of a pull in the hip. Okay, and then Donnelly can move towards the anchor and then relieve that pull. So kind of summarizing the sets, reps, and time with that last one, you're just going to go with one set, and I would end up doing a couple repetitions. So you can do like 2 to 3 repetitions. Start off with 10 seconds, see how it ends up feeling with a light pull, and if it feels good, you can go a little bit more tension and holding for 20 seconds. Do 2 repetitions, and you're just holding that end point, looking for a light pull in that hip. Then I would do it on one side, then I would end up doing it on the other side. Even if your hip pain is just on one side, I would recommend doing it on both sides. It'll give the painful side a break from activity and exercise, and then also you're kind of doing preventative work in the opposite hip. So we're not doing anything that's going to harm that good hip. It's probably going to help because it's good to kind of relieve tension, maintain the mobility in that healthy hip, and work on the traction so there's good space and movement in that hip joint. Now we're going to go through the 4th step, and this ends up being doing hip pain relief. And maybe I'll get you to sit this way, and I'll get the ball. So I'm getting some sort of ball. You can start off with like whatever you have at home. It could be like a tennis ball, softball, baseball. And then you're taking the ball, and then you're going to sit on the ball, looking at the hip joint area, moving the ball around, moving your seat around to kind of find the sensitive areas. And you're kind of going to massage the ball around in circles, forward and back, and looking for those sensitive areas and trying to loosen up that muscle. And with this one, when it comes to sets, reps, and time, I would just do one set. Start off with like 5 repetitions. And just smooth, controlled movement, and you can find like sensitive areas and stop for a second or 2, letting the muscle relieve. Then you can go on one side and then go on the other side. So you can go with a painful hip and then go with the non-painful hip for hip health. Okay, so there you go. That ends up being the 4 easy steps to hip pain relief. Now, if you're looking for some more of my tricks and tips when it comes to relieving hip pain, what I recommend for you to do is click right here. I have a brand new free report called 5 Tricks That Fight Hip Pain and Tightness. Click right here. Let me know where to send you that new free report, and I'll send it to you right away. Now, if you're watching this on a mobile device, tablet, or smartphone, head down below into the description and click the first link, which will end up being exercisesforinjuries.com/hips. Let me know where to send that brand new free report, and I'll send it to you right away. Now, if you got benefit from this video, make sure to hit like. If you have a question or comment for me, leave it down below in the comments section. And then lastly, before you go, make sure to hit subscribe so you end up getting future pain relieving videos.